This is the lesson for 12-2, day 1. So there's 4 different types of questions today. There's different ways that you are going to multiply different kinds of polynomials. We're going to have a monomial times a binomial times a trinomial, a binomial times a binomial times a trinomial. So there's a bunch of different types of questions today. Each one is solved the same but different, all right? There's a couple little techniques based on what different polynomial you specifically have. So the general rule for all of these questions today, when we're multiplying, is you are going to multiply the coefficients. Now, multiplying the coefficients, you could say this in a little bit easier way. You're doing number times number, and then you're adding the exponents. Number times number, add the exponents. Remember that if we had a question that looked like this, where we had to do x to the second times x to the third, x to the second times x to the third, we multiply the numbers in front of the x. So there's really a 1 here and a 1 here. So we would do 1 times 1, which is 1. And then we add the exponents. So this would become x to the 5th, or you could say 1x to the 5th. The more mature way, anytime that you have a 1, is to not put the 1 in front of the x. It wouldn't be wrong. It's just the more mature way to put it without the 1 in front of it. On the Regents exam, on any type of multiple choice answer or anything like that, you would never see the 1 in front of the x. So anyway, the first type of problem that we're doing is we are multiplying a monomial, 2x, times a binomial, x plus 3. All that we are doing here is the distributive property. You're used to seeing questions that look like this without the x in front, all right? And when you have the distributive property, you take the number outside the parentheses and multiply by both of the things inside the parentheses. That's the same exact thing that we're doing here. You're multiplying the term outside the parentheses by both of the things inside the parentheses. 2x times x is 2x squared. Now, why is it x squared? Remember, this is really x to the first and x to the first. So we have to add our exponents when we multiply. 2x times 3 is 6x. And that's our answer. We cannot add together the 2x squared and the x. You can only add together things that have the same exponents. All right, you can only add together things that have the same exponents. So in this one, 5x times 7x is 35x squared. 5x times -1 is -5x. That's our answer. Notice that it's in standard form already. Any answers, and we're going to get some later on that are not in standard form, you want to put them into standard form. So you're going to put your highest number exponent term first. -4, this time we're multiplying a monomial times a trinomial. So instead of distributing twice, we're distributing 3 times. -4x times 2x cubed. -4 times 2 is -8. We're going to add our exponents. 1 plus 2 gives us 3. -4x times x. Now remember, this is really a 1x. So -4 times 1 is -4. X times x, we have to add our exponents. So 1 plus 1 is 2. -4x times -6 gives you, be careful, remember a negative times a negative is a positive. So -4x times -6 is positive 24x. In this one, we don't have a plus or minus all by itself with no exponent after it. So this is just our answer. Take a look at the next one. All right, in the next one, we are doing multiplying binomials. So you're doing a binomial times a binomial. Some people call this double distributing, and you'll see why. Other people call it FOIL. Now, FOIL stands for firsts, outers, inners, lasts. All right, FOIL stands for firsts, outers, inners, lasts. So in this question, we're multiplying x plus 1 times x plus 2. Your firsts, all right, your firsts are the first thing in each term. So your first, you'd be multiplying your x times your x. Your outers are your 2 on the outside. So we have x and a positive 2. You always have to look at that sign that's in front of the number. So x times 2 is 2x. Then we have our inners. We have our 1 and our x. Those are the 2 on the inside, where the outers are the 2 on the extreme outside. The inners are the 2 on the extreme inside. So 1 times x gives you 1x. Notice that they just put x, not 1x. And then you have the lasts. The lasts are the last term in each, last part of the term in each. So the plus 1 and the plus 2, 1 times 2 is 2. When we put all of these answers together, all right, when we put all of these answers together, we have x squared plus 2x plus x plus 2. Well, when we go to simplify this, you can only add together things that have the same exponent. So notice in this one that you have a 2x and you have an x. We can add together this 2x and this 1x, combining our like terms, to be a 3x. So when we go to write our final answer, we would have x squared plus 3x. Now, why is it plus 3x? It's plus 3x because this is a positive 3 when we added it together. If when you add together your outers and your inners, it ends up being a negative 3x, then this would be a minus 3x. And then we have our plus 2, and this is our answer. This FOIL method only works when you have a binomial times a binomial. Now, if you wanted to do the double distributive property instead, all right, so I'm going to do the same problem, but I'm going to show you the double distributive property way instead. How it would look if you just did double distributive property is you have to multiply, just like we were doing with the single distributive property, where we took this and multiplied by each term. That's what you would have to do here as well. You would have to take this x, multiply it by both of the other terms. So x times x gives you x squared. X times 2 gives you 2x. And then what you would have to do is you'd have to take this other term in the first binomial and multiply it by the other two terms. So 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 2 is 2. Again, add together your like terms. So we would have a plus 3x here in the middle. So you would have x squared plus 3x plus 2, which is that same exact answer. It's just sort of a different way to think about it. You're essentially doing the same exact thing. It's just a FOIL is just a different way to sort of remember what you're doing. So let's take a look at a couple of these. So these are all FOIL or double distributive property, because notice that we are multiplying a binomial times a binomial. So if we wanted to do FOIL, we would have our firsts, x times x is x squared. Our outers, 3 times x is 3x. Our inners, 2 times x is 2x. And our lasts, 2 times 3 is 6. Now notice that how I drew this, I was actually doing the double distributive property at the same exact time. You're multiplying both of the terms here by x, and you're multiplying both of the terms here by 2. It's essentially the same exact thing. So then you end up with x squared plus 5x plus 6. Notice that that is in standard form with our highest exponent first. 2x plus 3 times 3x plus 1. Again, take this term, our firsts, 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x times 1, which are our outers. 2x times 1 is 2x. Then we have our inners. 3 times 3x is 9x. And then we have our lasts. 3 times 1 is 3. You can add together your outers and your inners, combining your like terms here in the middle. So we have 6x squared plus 11x plus 3. And that is our answer. Go ahead and try this one on your own, please. All right, go ahead and try x minus 2 and x minus 4, please. So we would want to do firsts. X times x is x squared. Outers, -4 times x is -4x. Inners, -2 times x is -2x. And last, -2 times -4. Be careful. Negative times the negative is a positive. Add together your like terms. So be careful. We're adding together a -4 and a -2. -4 plus -2 is -6x. And then plus 8. And that's our final answer. Take a look at this one. Now, in this one, they're trying to trick you by not having x's, but having u's. Sometimes on the Regents exam, they do try and trick you like that. You're going to do it essentially the same way. 3u times 4u is 12u squared. Outers, 3u times -6 is -18u. Inners, 17 times 4u is 68u. And 17 times -6 is -102. Add together your inners and your outers, combining your like terms. So we have 12u squared. -18 plus 68 is 50u. And then minus 102. And that would be our answer. So you just got to be careful with your pluses and your minuses, your negatives and your positives. Let's skip this one. Why don't you try this one on your own, please? All right, try this one on your own. 8x minus 16 and 6x plus 3. Go ahead and try this one, please. With firsts, you have 8x times 6x, which is 48x squared. 8x times 3, which are your outers, would be 24x. -16 times x is, I got to go to my cheat sheet here, is -96x. And -16 times 3 is -48. Add together your inners and your outers. So we have 48x squared. 24 plus -96 is -72x minus 48. Take a look at this one. Now, in this one, notice that we have a 9y and then just a y. People every year, for some reason, get very confused when it's like that. If you don't like that, there's just a y all by itself. Remember that anytime that you have a letter all by itself, there's really a 1 in front of it. That helps people out sometimes. 9y times 1y is 9y squared. 9y times 5 is 45y. Inners, -4 times 1y is -4y. -4 times 5 is negative or minus 20. Be very careful when you go to add these together. You have 45 plus -4. 45 plus -4 is positive or plus 41y. Go ahead and try this one on your own, please. Again, if you don't like that x being all by itself, remember that you could put a 1 right in front of it. That helps a lot of people out. 1x times 2x is 2x squared. 1x times 3 is 3x. -4 times 2x is -8x. And -4 times 3 is -12. Add together your outers and your inners to combine your like terms. So 3x plus -8x is -5x, and then -12. The next type of question that we have, which is that third type of question that I warned you about today, this is probably the hardest thing today. It's not really that more difficult. There's just a little bit more work to do. Notice that in all 4 of these questions, we are multiplying a binomial times a trinomial, 2 terms times 3 terms. So when you go and do the distributive property, we have to take this x, multiply it by all 3 terms, and then we have to take this -5 and multiply it by all 3 terms. So in the last type of question where we were doing a binomial times a binomial, we ended up with 4 terms each time. Well, because we're multiplying 2 and 3 terms, we're going to end up with 6 terms altogether. X times x squared. X times x squared is x cubed because you have to add the exponents. Remember, that's really x to the first. X times 3x is 3x squared. And x times 1 is 1x. When we go to do the blue ones, -5 times x squared is -5x squared. -5 times 3x is -15x. -5 times 1 is -5. You have to be careful when you go to add together your like terms. Notice that we have an x squared value and an x squared value. Those we're going to be adding together. Notice that we have an x value and an x value. Those two we're going to be adding together. So unlike the previous question where we just had one thing to add together, here we have 2 things to add together. So nothing to add together with the x cubed, but when we go to add together the green x squareds here, we have a 3x squared and a -5x squared. 3 plus -5 is -2x squared. 1x and -15x is -14x. And then we have our lonely -5 at the end. Notice that doing it this way, notice that you have your answer already in standard form. So let me do another one here for you. Let me do this one. X times 2x squared is 2x cubed, because remember this is really x to the first. X times -3x is -3x squared. X times -4 is -4x. Then we have the distributing with the 5. 5 times 2x squared is 10x squared. 5 times -3 is -15x. And 5 times -4 is -20. When we go to add together our like terms, we have x squareds and x squareds that we want to add together. And we have x's and x's to add together as well. So we have 2x cubed. -3 plus 10 is 7x squared. -4 plus -15. Be careful. Negative plus a negative is still a negative. So it's -19x. And then -20. Go ahead and try this one in the upper right-hand corner on your own, please. X times x squared is x cubed. All right, be very careful. Lots of people make mistakes there. X times negative 8x is negative 8x squared. X times 16 is 16x. When we go to multiply with the negative 4 times x squared is negative 4x squared. Negative 4 times negative 8, a negative times a negative is a positive. So plus 32x. Negative 4 times 16 is negative 64. Go to add together your like terms. We're adding together the squareds and the squareds, and we're adding together the x's and the x's. Always take a look at that sign that's out in front. So we have x cubed minus 12x squared, and then we have plus 48x, and then minus 64. Take a look at how this next one is a little bit different. Notice in the other three examples, the binomial went first. In this one, the trinomial goes first. You have your choice how you want to really do it. It doesn't really matter. If you want to work backwards, you can. Watch what I'm going to do here. If you want to work backwards, you can. X times all three of these terms, and then 2 times all three of these terms. So you could do it just like we were doing it. It's just going sort of distributing to the left instead of the right. So if you want to do it like that, that's fine. If you're more comfortable distributing to the right, you would just have to distribute 3 times. We would do the 3x squared times both of those. We would do the x times both of these. And then you'd have to distribute a third time, the negative 2 times both of those. No matter which way you do it, you'll end up with the same answer. I sort of like working backwards, but that's just me. I like distributing with the binomial to the trinomial. I don't know. That's just me though. Last type of question. All right. These are sort of a trick question. They love this question on the Regents exam. This is a multiple choice question on the Regents exam every single year. All right. So x plus 3 squared. Now, it's very, very tempting to go, oh, it has to be x squared plus 9. All right. It's not x squared plus 9. All right. People, that this is a multiple choice question every year, and people put that answer every time. What this really means is you're taking that x plus 3 and multiplying it by another x plus 3. So it's really x plus 3 times x plus 3. So again, we have to distribute. This would be FOIL or double distributive property. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. Then we'd have to distribute with the 3. 3 times x, doing your innards. 3 is 3x. 3 times 3 is 9. Add together your outers and your inners. So this would be a x squared plus 6x plus 9. So all that you have to do is take this thing inside parentheses and multiply it by each other twice. Same thing happens when you have a minus like this. We would have x minus 4 times x minus 4. So again, you want to distribute and distribute. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. Add together your outers and your inners. So we'd have x squared minus 8x plus 16. Go ahead and try this one, please. X plus 10 squared. X plus 10 squared. So this really means x plus 10 times x plus 10. Distribute, distribute. X times x is x squared. X times 10 is 10x. 10 times x is 10x. 10 times 10 is 100. Add together your outers and your inners. So we would have a x squared plus 20x plus 100. I would highly, highly, highly suggest doing these on paper. If you try and do these in your head, especially when it comes to these ones where you're multiplying a binomial times a trinomial, I guarantee you, you will mess it up if you try and do this in your head. Do not try and do this in your head. Please write down the problem, do it on paper, then type it into ClassKick.